Good morning, and thank you for joining us again at Croes-y-Parc Chapel's Sunday Drop-In. And this is a special Sunday. It's Palm Sunday, the beginning of the week when we reflect upon those last days in Jesus' life before we celebrate Easter next Sunday.
One more push.
You got it, baby. You got it.
You have congratulations. 325.
Good morning and thanks for joining us. This time of year I usually speak about the triumphal entry, or Palm Sunday as it's known. I make a point of doing that because it's not just some nice twee story about Jesus having a good day out. On the contrary, it actually tells us a great deal of stuff we really need to know and understand regarding how God's mind works and how he relates to his creation. So let's recap what's going on. Jesus has just spent 3 years travelling around the Holy Land with his band of disciples. He's been preaching, performing miracles, mixing with ordinary folk and aggravating and upsetting those in power. He's now in the final week of his life on earth, although not everybody knows that, and he's returning to Jerusalem. As he enters the city on a young colt, crowds of people come out to celebrate. So Palm Sunday is a lovely image. You got the donkey and palm fronds and cloaks and the King of the universe accepting the adoration of his people. The disciples, they're over the moon. They're shouting out, "Blessed is the King who comes in the name of the Lord." The crowd are loving it, all except a couple of Pharisees who are not really in party mood, especially when Jesus refuses to tell the crowds to stop cheering. After this, he goes into the temple and turns over the tables and drives out the money changers and those selling goods. Then he starts teaching. This is really all too much for the chief priests and leaders, and so they decide it's time to end it once and for all. Jesus needs to die. So, what's going on? Was it just a nice idea and a good day out, but it put a few noses out of joint and led to the crucifixion? Or bad planning? Perhaps it was bad planning or bad timing. Jesus hadn't won over the majority of the bigwigs in town, and he tips up like he owns the place. They wanted to kill him for some time, and it's a little insensitive of Jesus to organise a parade. Asking for trouble, that is. So Jesus was insensitive and guilty of bad planning or bad timing, and it got him into a world of trouble. Well, some people think that. They think Jesus went a little too far on Palm Sunday, and then he got overtaken by events. But I want to tell you what the real deal was with Palm Sunday. It was a masterpiece of forward planning. It was timed to perfection. Christ wasn't overtaken by events, he carefully orchestrated them. The whole episode was an attempt by Jesus, a successful attempt, to provoke a crisis. Here are just a few of the reasons why. The colt. You ever wonder what that was about? The Old Testament tells us that no animal that has ever been used as a beast of burden can be used for sacred purposes. That is why it had to be a colt that no one had ever ridden. Jesus was sending a message, and it wouldn't have been lost on the Pharisees. Jesus rode the colt to show them that he was sacred. It was the only recorded time he rode any animal. He's saying, I'm sacred and I don't care who knows it. It's true, but it's also very provocative. The crowds are shouting out, blessed is the King who comes in the name of the Lord. And this has upped the ante. He's not just sacred, now he's a king. More than that, he's a king with a divine mandate. He comes in the name of the Lord. And Jesus doesn't stop them saying this. The religious leaders have got a problem, and Christ is causing it. Seems to be a coup unfolding. So what happens when there's a coup? Well, these days, what normally happens is you get some guy in a uniform with a ludicrous amount of gold braid and a pair of shades broadcasting from the television station he's just commandeered. In those days, and right up until broadcasting was invented, the guy who'd just taken over would ensconce himself in the palace or the parliament or whatever seat of power the previous regime had been using. They will always head for wherever the previous incumbent exercised power. Jesus heads for the temple. Of course he does. It's the seat of power. It's supposed to be about him anyway. But how in your face is that? He's provoking a crisis. He drives out the most obvious symbol of the old regime, the sellers and the money changers. But here he basically just moves in. He moves into the seat of power. People love him. The authorities hate him. They want him dead. So why did Jesus do all this? Because now it was the right time. It is that simple. They couldn't kill him when they tried before, but now it's his timing. He's taught all he's going to teach. He's ready to make the sacrifice. He's absolutely determined to die. And he does make it very easy for them. After the people have proclaimed him king, he withdraws with only a handful of followers to where he can be easily picked up without serious conflict. And he allows a known traitor, Judas, to walk away from a meal and fetch his enemies. You know what strikes me about Palm Sunday? We got all that lovely imagery, but there's a bit that gets glossed over. Jesus burst into tears. And why? Because the people never recognized God's timing. It says, if you, even you, had only known on this day what would bring you peace. Could it be that Jesus, who willingly died for the sins of the human race, could bring you peace this day? too. God bless and stay safe.
What kind of king is crowned with thorns, or robed in nakedness and shame, so cruelly beaten, mocked and scorned? He bears the weight of all our blame. What kind of king would stand condemned, though innocent of every crime, in silence offer no defense, and take the place that should be mine? What kind of king would choose to die, yet 3 days later rise again, to win for us eternal life, and heal and free us in His name? And now this King is glorified, though still adorned with wounds of grace, and reigning at the Father's side, receives the angels' endless praise. This is Jesus, our Redeemer, paid the ransom for our sin. This is Jesus, risen Savior, everlasting King of Kings. We know our King will soon return to right the wrongs of history, and satisfy all those who yearn for love to have the victory. And then our King will wipe away the tears of pain from every face. Oh, how we're longing for the day when we're received in His embrace. This is Jesus, our Redeemer, paid the ransom for our sin. This is Jesus, risen Savior, everlasting King of Kings, King forever, robed in splendor, victory is yours. Now and always we will worship Christ our risen Lord. Lifting up King forever, robed in splendor, victory is yours. Now and always we will worship Christ our risen Lord. No other king deserves my all, for He alone was sacrificed. Lord Jesus, I will heed your call, and give my heart, my soul, my life.
We do hope you'll be with us again next Sunday, Easter Sunday, the day we celebrate the risen Christ. Until then, take care. God bless.